The Quran is more than just a holy book. It is a divine revelation, a guide for humanity, and a miracle preserved through the ages. While millions of Muslims around the world recite its verses daily, many astonishing truths about the Quran remain unknown to most people, even those who read it regularly. From its historical preservation to its scientific foresight, from its unmatched literary beauty to its profound spiritual wisdom, the Quran holds countless secrets waiting to be discovered. In this journey, we will explore 100 remarkable facts about the Quran, many of which are hidden from the public eye. These facts will open your heart, awaken your mind, and deepen your understanding of this sacred book that continues to transform lives more than 1,400 years after it was first revealed. Let us begin. Fact 1. The Quran has never been changed. One of the most astonishing facts about the Quran is that not a single word has been changed since it was revealed over 1,400 years ago. Muslims around the world recite the exact same verses in every corner of the globe in perfect harmony. This preservation is not merely the result of human effort, but believed to be protected by divine promise. The Quran itself declares, "Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian." Surah 15:9. No other holy scripture has remained as intact, unchanged, and widely memorized as the Quran, a living miracle passed down generation after generation. Fact 2. It was revealed over 23 years. Unlike many scriptures that were revealed all at once, the Quran was revealed gradually over a span of 23 years. This allowed its message to respond directly to real-life events faced by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions. Revelation would come during times of joy, grief, battle, peace, or moral crisis, offering timely guidance and clarity. This unique unfolding of the Quran made it deeply relatable and accessible, building a strong spiritual foundation over time. The gradual revelation also allowed the early Muslim community to grow steadily in faith and practice. Fact 3. The Quran is not in chronological order. The Quran's chapters are not arranged in the order they were revealed. The first verse revealed, "Read in the name of your Lord," is not placed at the beginning. Instead, the Quran is arranged by divine command in a way that transcends historical sequence. Some chapters are grouped by length, others by theme, and many contain multiple subjects within a single chapter. This non-linear structure invites deeper reflection and allows the Quran to speak to the human soul in diverse ways. Its structure is part of its miracle, one that weaves together timeless messages without being bound by time. Fact 4. The longest verse is about debt. It might surprise many to learn that the longest verse in the Quran is not about prayer or theology, it's about financial transactions. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 282, is the longest single verse in the Quran and offers detailed instructions on how to record debts fairly and transparently. It even advises the involvement of witnesses and scribes. This emphasis on honesty and documentation in worldly affairs highlights how Islam is not just a spiritual path, but also a practical guide for life. It shows that God cares deeply about justice, integrity, and human dealings. Fact 5. The Quran predicted scientific facts. Long before modern science confirmed certain realities, the Quran already mentioned them, often in astonishing detail. It spoke of the expansion of the universe, the protective role of the atmosphere, and the stages of embryonic development inside the womb. These were concepts completely unknown in the 7th century, yet they appear in the Quran with remarkable accuracy. For Muslims, this alignment between revelation and science is no coincidence. It is proof of the Quran's divine origin, a book not confined by the limitations of its time, but filled with eternal truth. Fact 6. The Quran contains 114 chapters. The Quran is made up of 114 chapters, known as surahs. Each chapter has its own unique message and tone. Some are just a few verses long, while others span dozens of pages. These chapters cover a wide range of subjects, from divine guidance and spiritual reflection to laws, stories of past prophets, and glimpses of the afterlife. Despite their varying lengths, every surah is carefully placed, creating a rhythm and harmony that touches the soul. Whether short or long, each chapter carries wisdom, beauty, and meaning that speaks to people of all backgrounds. Fact 7. Every chapter begins with mercy, except one. All chapters of the Quran begin with the phrase, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, meaning, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, except for one, Surah At-Tawbah, chapter 9. This exception has intrigued scholars for centuries. Some say it reflects the stern and serious nature of that chapter, which deals with treaties and accountability. Others believe the missing Bismillah is balanced by an extra one found in Surah An-Naml, chapter 27. Regardless, this tradition underscores a deeper truth. Mercy is at the heart of God's message, so central that it opens nearly every chapter of his final revelation. Fact 8. The Quran has a unique structure unlike any other book. The Quran does not follow the usual structure of books. It is neither poetry nor prose, neither a history book nor a collection of laws, yet it contains elements of all these. Its verses, called ayahs, which literally means signs, flow in a rhythm that's unlike anything else in the Arabic language. This inimitable style is part of what makes the Quran a linguistic miracle. Even expert Arab poets at the time of revelation were left speechless by its unmatched eloquence. Its form defies categorization, drawing listeners into reflection, awe, and surrender. Fact 9. It is memorized word for word by millions. One of the most extraordinary aspects of the Quran is its memorization. Millions of Muslims around the world, from young children to elderly adults, have committed the entire Quran to memory, word for word, letter for letter. These individuals are known as hufas, plural of hafiz. This tradition of memorization began with the Prophet Muhammad himself, who would recite the revelations to his companions. This oral tradition, combined with written preservation, has ensured that the Quran remains completely unchanged through time. No other book in human history is memorized at this scale, across continents and cultures. Fact 10. The Quran encourages the use of reason and intellect. Far from discouraging thought, the Quran repeatedly urges its readers to reflect, ponder, and reason. Verses often end with questions like, "Will you not use your mind?" or "Do they not reflect?" inviting deep contemplation. The Quran doesn't simply provide rules, it nurtures a mindset of curiosity, spiritual intelligence, and moral awareness. It speaks to the heart and the intellect simultaneously. This emphasis on thinking shows that faith in Islam is not blind, but thoughtful, grounded in observation, reflection, and understanding the signs of God in creation and in Scripture. Fact 11. The Quran mentions 25 prophets by name. Throughout its chapters, the Quran narrates the stories of many prophets who came before Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. 25 of them are mentioned by name, including Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and others. Each of their stories carries lessons in patience, struggle, hope, and divine justice. The Quran honors them all as righteous guides sent to their people with one message: to worship one God and live righteously. These stories are not mere history. They are living examples of how faith can overcome hardship and how divine guidance unfolds across generations. Fact 12. There are no contradictions in the Quran. Despite being revealed over 23 years in varying contexts, during peace and war, joy and sorrow, the Quran contains no contradictions. Its message remains consistent, coherent, and interconnected. Verses revealed in different times often echo and reinforce one another. This consistency is a profound sign of its divine origin. The Quran itself boldly declares, "Do they not reflect upon the Quran? Had it been from anyone other than Allah, they would have found within it much contradiction." Surah 4:82. For believers, this harmony across time and circumstance is part of the Quran's miracle. Fact 13. The shortest chapter has only 3 verses. Surah Al-Kawthar is the shortest chapter in the Quran, consisting of just 3 verses. Yet, despite its brevity, it conveys a powerful message. It speaks of immense divine blessings, gratitude in the face of adversity, and the importance of prayer and sacrifice. Its simplicity and depth show that profound wisdom can come in even the smallest packages. Many children begin memorizing the Quran with this chapter, yet even scholars continue to reflect on its deeper meanings. It's a reminder that the size of a verse does not limit its impact on the soul. Fact 14. The Quran addresses all of humanity. The Quran does not speak only to Arabs, Muslims, or a specific nation. It addresses all of humanity. It uses phrases like, "O mankind," and "O children of Adam," making its message universal. It speaks to people of all cultures, races, and backgrounds, offering guidance, hope, and truth for every human being. Unlike previous scriptures that were sent to specific tribes or regions, the Quran is meant for the entire world. Its timeless teachings continue to resonate with people across languages and continents, proving its relevance in every age. Fact 15. The Quran uses parables and metaphors to convey complex truths and spiritual realities. The Quran often uses parables and metaphors. These stories and images invite the reader to reflect on deeper meanings. For example, it likens faith to a good tree with firm roots and fruitful branches, and disbelief to a tree torn from the earth with no stability. These visual comparisons make abstract ideas more relatable and memorable. The Quran itself says, "We set forth parables for mankind so they may reflect." Surah 14:25. Through parables, the Quran speaks not just to the mind, but to the heart and imagination. Fact 16. The Quran has a chapter named after women. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Quran is that it includes an entire chapter titled An-Nisa, which means the women. This chapter, the 4th in the Quran, focuses extensively on the rights, responsibilities, and dignity of women in society. It addresses inheritance laws, marriage, justice, and family structure, emphasizing compassion and fairness. For a book revealed in 7th century Arabia, a time when women were often devalued, this was revolutionary. It shows that the Quran recognizes the importance of protecting and uplifting women's rights as part of divine justice and societal balance. Fact 17. Mary is mentioned more in the Quran than in the Bible. Mary, the mother of Jesus, peace be upon them both, is mentioned by name more times in the Quran than she is in the New Testament. Not only is she honored repeatedly, but a whole chapter, Surah Maryam, is named after her. The Quran describes her as a woman of purity, chosen above all other women of her time. Her story, including the miraculous birth of Jesus, is told with deep reverence. This elevated status of Mary reflects the Quran's immense respect for righteous women and its connection to earlier scriptures. Fact 18. The Quran condemns racism and tribalism. Long before human rights declarations existed, the Quran declared that all people are equal in the sight of God. It teaches that no one is superior due to race, color, or lineage. O mankind, we created you from a male and a female and made you into nations and tribes so that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Surah 49:13. This verse alone strikes at the heart of racism, promoting unity and humility among all human beings. Fact 19. The first chapter is a prayer for guidance. The very first chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, is a prayer that Muslims recite in every unit of their daily prayers. It is a short but powerful supplication asking God for guidance on the straight path, for mercy, and for protection from misguidance. This chapter sets the tone for the entire Quran. It reminds the reader that the journey begins with seeking truth, and that divine guidance is the most precious gift one can receive. It is the spiritual gateway into the rest of the Quran. Fact 20. The Quran contains fulfilled prophecies. The Quran contains several prophecies that were fulfilled during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or shortly thereafter. One notable example is the prediction in Surah Ar-Rum that the Romans would soon defeat the Persians after suffering a major loss, a seemingly impossible outcome at the time. Yet a few years later, the prophecy came true. These fulfilled predictions served as powerful signs for the early Muslims and continue to inspire faith today, showing that the Quran speaks not only of the past and present, but also of the unseen future. Fact 21. The Quran has verses that comfort the heart. The Quran is not just a book of laws and beliefs. It is a source of healing and comfort for the soul. Many verses speak directly to the heart, especially during times of sadness or anxiety. Verses like, "Verily, with hardship comes ease," Surah 94 verse 6, or "Do not despair of the mercy of Allah," Surah 39 verse 53, bring hope and reassurance. This emotional depth is part of what makes the Quran so beloved by its readers. It doesn't just guide the mind, it soothes the heart and lifts the spirit. Fact 22. The Quran speaks about the natural world. From the stars in the sky to the animals on earth, the Quran frequently draws attention to the natural world. It encourages people to reflect on creation as a way to understand the Creator. Birds, bees, mountains, rivers, night and day, all are mentioned with purpose. The Quran teaches that nature is full of signs for those who reflect. Surah 3:190. This connection between faith and the environment instills a sense of awe and responsibility. It's a reminder that the earth is a sacred trust, not to be exploited, but appreciated and protected. Fact 23. The Quran was the first book to grant inheritance rights to women. In pre-Islamic Arabia, women had little to no right to inherit property. The Quran changed that. Surah An-Nisa lays out detailed rules for inheritance, including the rights of daughters, wives, mothers, and sisters. Though the shares differ in some cases based on responsibility and financial obligations, the recognition of women as rightful heirs was groundbreaking. This reform shows how the Quran sought to uplift the marginalized and create a balanced society, giving women dignity, autonomy, and a defined place in economic matters. Fact 24. The Quran uses oaths to emphasize truth. In several verses, God swears by various elements of his creation, like the sun, the moon, time, and even the soul. These oaths are not casual, but serve to grab the listener's attention and highlight the seriousness of what follows. For example, by time indeed mankind is in loss, Surah 103. These divine oaths make the reader pause, reflect, and understand the gravity of the message. In Arabic rhetoric, taking an oath is a powerful way to emphasize truth, and the Quran uses this literary device with elegance and divine purpose. Fact 25. The Quran addresses both the mind and the heart. Unlike many texts that appeal solely to logic or emotion, the Quran strikes a unique balance between intellect and feeling. It presents rational arguments for belief, while also speaking to the emotional core of the human experience, offering love, hope, fear, and awe. It poses questions that stir the mind and verses that comfort the soul. This dual appeal makes the Quran accessible to people at every stage of life and in every emotional state. It's not just a book to be read, it's a companion to be lived with. Fact 26. The Quran repeats key messages for emphasis. Throughout the Quran, core themes are repeated across different chapters and verses. Messages about God's mercy, the importance of prayer, the Day of Judgment, and the stories of the prophets appear in various contexts. These repetitions are not redundant. They serve to reinforce divine truths in the hearts of readers. The human mind often forgets, especially in the face of distractions, so the Quran repeats essential guidance to anchor the soul. With every repetition, there is a new layer of meaning and a new opportunity for reflection. Fact 27. The Quran was revealed in clear Arabic. The Quran describes itself as a book revealed in clear Arabic language, Surah 26, 195. The Arabic of the Quran is powerful, eloquent, and unmatched in its linguistic beauty. Even today, many scholars and poets admit that the Quran's language surpasses anything humanly possible in Arabic literature. The clarity and precision of its words ensure that its message is not ambiguous or confusing. This linguistic miracle continues to captivate both believers and skeptics alike, challenging them to reflect on its divine origin. Fact 28. The Quran encourages forgiveness and mercy. While the Quran includes laws and justice, it places immense emphasis on forgiveness, mercy, and compassion. One of God's most frequently mentioned names is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. The Quran advises believers to forgive others, even when wronged, and to respond to evil with goodness. Repel evil with what is better. Surah 41:34. This divine wisdom teaches that mercy is stronger than revenge, and that the path of the Prophet was paved with patience, forgiveness, and love, even toward his enemies. Fact 29. The Quran has verses that directly address Satan. The Quran includes verses where Satan, Shaitan, is quoted, challenged, and warned. From the moment he refused to bow to Adam, his arrogance and rebellion are recorded as a warning to humanity. The Quran exposes his tactics, whispering doubts, tempting pride, and sowing division. But it also teaches how to defeat him, through remembrance of God, humility, and seeking protection in prayer. By confronting Satan in its verses, the Quran provides a spiritual manual for overcoming inner struggles and staying on the righteous path. Fact 30. The Quran was written down during the Prophet's lifetime. Although the Quran was primarily transmitted orally, it was also written down during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He had designated scribes who would immediately record revelations on parchment, bones, or leather when verses were revealed. This dual method of preservation, written and memorized, ensured the Quran was safeguarded from alteration. After the Prophet's death, the Quran was compiled into a single manuscript during the Caliphate of Abu Bakr and later standardized by Caliph Uthman, preserving its authenticity for future generations. Fact 31. The Quran was the first book for many civilizations. When Islam spread to non-Arabic regions like Persia, Africa, and Southeast Asia, the Quran was often the first book introduced into those societies. It became a foundation for literacy, education, and written culture. Entire scripts were developed or refined just to accommodate Quranic writing. In some places, it was the first text translated, taught, or even printed. The Quran not only transformed hearts, it elevated societies intellectually and morally, marking the beginning of knowledge-based civilizations across the Muslim world. Fact 32. The Quran describes itself as a healing. The Quran is described as a healing and mercy for those who believe. Surah 1782. Its verses provide spiritual healing for hearts burdened by grief, guilt, fear, and doubt. Reciting or listening to the Quran can bring calm, clarity, and comfort, so much so that it is often used in prayer for those who are ill or anxious. This healing is not only emotional, but also spiritual, offering a connection to God that restores the soul. Many believers turn to the Quran in moments of crisis, finding peace in its divine words. Fact 33. The Quran teaches responsibility toward orphans. In a society where orphans were once neglected, the Quran came with stern warnings against oppressing or mistreating them. It commands believers to care for orphans, protect their property, and treat them with kindness and dignity. Do not approach the orphan's property except to improve it. Surah 6:152. This deep concern reflects Islam's moral emphasis on justice for the vulnerable and accountability for those in power. The orphan is not to be pitied or ignored, but honored and supported as a trust from God. Fact 34. The Quran warns against arrogance. Arrogance is repeatedly condemned in the Quran. The downfall of Satan was due to his pride, and the destruction of past nations often stemmed from their arrogance. The Quran teaches that humility is the key to spiritual growth, and that pride blinds people to the truth. Do not walk upon the earth exultantly, Indeed, you will never tear the earth apart, and you will never reach the mountains in height. Surah 1737. These vivid reminders show how the Quran humbles the soul and guides it away from ego. Fact 35. The Quran recognizes goodness in all people. While the Quran clearly invites people to Islam, it also recognizes the good in others, regardless of their faith. It mentions that among the people of the book, Jews and Christians, there are those who are sincere, humble, and truthful. They are not all the same. Surah 3:113. This balance between upholding truth and acknowledging virtue in others reflects the Quran's fairness and wisdom. It encourages Muslims to build bridges with others, to seek understanding, and to embody justice and kindness in all relationships. Fact 36. The Quran acknowledges the role of the heart in understanding. In the Quran, understanding is not limited to the brain. It often connects comprehension to the heart. Verses describe how hearts can be blind, even if eyes can see. They have hearts with which they do not understand. Surah 7:179. This deeper view reminds us that truth is not just intellectual, it must be received with sincerity and openness. The heart, in the Quranic view, is the center of both emotion and spiritual perception. Without a pure heart, true understanding of divine guidance remains blocked. Fact 37. The Quran describes the ocean's darkness centuries before modern discovery. In Surah An-Nur 24:40, the Quran describes the deep sea as a place of layers of darkness, where if one stretches out a hand, they can barely see it. This poetic yet precise description mirrors what modern science discovered centuries later. That deep beneath the ocean's surface, light completely disappears. No human at the time of revelation had access to such depths, making this one of the many scientifically astonishing verses in the Quran. For believers, it's a sign of divine knowledge, far beyond human reach. Fact 38. The Quran prohibits backbiting and slander. Long before social media made gossip global, the Quran warned against backbiting and slander in vivid terms. It compares backbiting to eating the flesh of one's dead brother, Surah 49:12, a horrifying image meant to awaken moral conscience. The Quran emphasizes that speech carries weight and that words can harm, divide, and destroy. By forbidding gossip, mockery, and false accusations, the Quran encourages a community of trust, dignity, and respect. This ethical framework protects individuals from reputational harm and fosters peace in society. Fact 39. The Quran prohibits compulsion in religion. In a time when forced conversion was common, the Quran declared a bold truth. There is no compulsion in religion. Surah 2:256. This verse asserts that faith must be chosen freely, not imposed by force. True belief can only grow in a heart that is open and willing. This Quranic principle laid the foundation for religious freedom centuries before it became a global ideal. It also sets the tone for peaceful coexistence and interfaith respect in Islamic teachings. Fact 40. The Quran encourages environmental stewardship. The Quran paints the earth as a gift and a trust. It constantly calls attention to the balance of creation, how rain revives the soil, how animals serve human needs, how plants grow in perfect measure. But it also warns against spreading corruption in the land. Do not commit abuse on the earth, spreading corruption. Surah 2:60. This verse and many like it inspire a deep sense of environmental responsibility. Muslims are taught that harming nature is a moral failure and that caring for it is an act of worship. Fact 41. The Quran recognizes different levels of belief. The Quran does not treat all believers the same. It acknowledges that people are at different stages in their faith. Some are new, some are firm, some struggle. Verses make room for those who doubt, who falter, and who seek. It even distinguishes between Muslims, believers, mu'min, and the deeply conscious, mutakin. This recognition of human diversity within faith shows the Quran's realism and compassion. It invites all to grow spiritually, without judgment, and offers mercy at every step of the journey. Fact 42. The Quran teaches gratitude as a key to happiness. Gratitude is one of the most emphasized virtues in the Quran. It teaches that being thankful to God is not only a form of worship, but a pathway to peace and abundance. If you are grateful, I will surely increase you. Surah 14:7. This increase is not limited to material blessings. It includes contentment, patience, and spiritual strength. The Quran also warns that ingratitude leads to loss and darkness. By nurturing a heart of thankfulness, the Quran transforms the way believers see their trials and their blessings. Fact 43. The Quran preserves the legacy of earlier scriptures. Rather than canceling previous revelations, the Quran affirms their divine origin. It acknowledges the Torah given to Moses, the Psalms to David, and the Gospel to Jesus, peace be upon them all. However, it also notes that those scriptures were altered over time, and that the Quran now stands as the final and protected message. This continuity highlights Islam's connection to the Abrahamic faiths and offers a bridge for interfaith understanding. The Quran sees itself not as a break, but a completion of divine guidance for humanity. Fact 44. The Quran was revealed during the blessed month of Ramadan. The Quran itself states that it was first revealed during the month of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan is that in which the Quran was revealed, a guidance for mankind. Surah 2:185. This connection makes Ramadan not just a time of fasting, but a celebration of divine revelation. Muslims around the world dedicate this month to reading, reflecting on, and completing the Quran. Its spiritual energy fills homes and hearts, turning Ramadan into a season of light, clarity, and renewal of faith. Fact 45. The Quran honors the elderly and commands respect for parents. Respect for parents is one of the strongest moral teachings in the Quran. It commands believers to treat their parents with gentleness, especially in old age. Do not even say "uff" to them. Surah 17:23. This small Arabic expression of annoyance is prohibited to emphasize the high standard of kindness required. The Quran recognizes the sacrifices made by parents, especially mothers, and links honoring them with gratitude to God. In a world that often neglects the elderly, the Quran restores their dignity and reminds us of the sacred bond of family. Fact 46. The Quran has a chapter named after an insect. Surah An-Naml, the 27th chapter of the Quran, is named the ant. It includes the story of Prophet Suleiman, and his army, which even includes communication with ants. In this story, an ant warns her fellow ants to retreat, so Solomon's army does not crush them unknowingly. This moment shows how even the smallest creatures are acknowledged and respected in the Quran. It also highlights the prophetic wisdom of Solomon, who understands their language. Such stories emphasize that all of God's creatures have value and purpose, no matter how small. Fact 47. The Quran details the stages of human embryo development. In several verses, the Quran outlines the stages of human creation inside the womb, starting from a drop of fluid to a clinging clot to a lump of flesh. Surah 23:12-14. These stages correspond remarkably with what modern embryology has discovered, even though such knowledge was not available in the 7th century. This precise biological description, using simple yet accurate terms, is another example that Muslims point to when reflecting on the Quran's miraculous nature, containing truths that science only confirmed centuries later. Fact 48. The Quran was sent as a mercy to all worlds. The Quran refers to the Prophet Muhammad as a mercy to all the worlds, Surah 21:107, and by extension, the Quran itself is seen as a message of mercy, not just for Muslims, but for all of creation. Its laws, values, and guidance aim to uplift human dignity, promote justice, and establish peace. Even in its strictest rulings, the goal is mercy, whether for the soul, the society, or the oppressed. For Muslims, every word of the Quran is rooted in divine compassion, meant to guide humanity toward goodness. Fact 49. The Quran encourages the pursuit of knowledge. Unlike many ancient texts that feared or discouraged inquiry, the Quran begins with the word Iqra, read. This command to seek knowledge laid the foundation for centuries of scientific, medical, and philosophical exploration in the Muslim world. The Quran urges believers to study the heavens, the earth, the self, and history. Say, are those who know equal to those who do not know? Surah 39:9. This invitation to think, learn, and explore reflects Islam's deep respect for knowledge and the understanding that truth and faith are not in conflict, but in harmony. Fact 50. The Quran has no authorship claim from the Prophet Muhammad. Despite being its human conduit, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, never claimed to have authored the Quran. In fact, the Quran repeatedly clarifies that it is not his words. It is not but a revelation revealed, taught to him by one intense in strength. Surah 53:4-5. Muhammad was known to be unlettered, unable to read or write, making the literary sophistication of the Quran even more extraordinary. The message is clear. These are not the words of a man, but of God. This divine origin is a cornerstone of Islamic belief. Fact 51. The Quran describes itself as a light. In Surah 4:174, the Quran refers to itself as a clear light. This metaphor captures the Quran's role in illuminating the path of truth, justice, and righteousness. Like a lantern in darkness, it provides clarity when life is confusing or uncertain. It guides individuals, families, and societies toward moral clarity. The light of the Quran is not just intellectual, it is spiritual, penetrating the heart and soul. For believers, reading the Quran is like turning on a light inside themselves, helping them see the world and their purpose more clearly. Fact 52. The Quran was meant to be recited, not just read. The word Quran itself means recitation. It is not just a book to be read silently. It is meant to be recited aloud, with rhythm, reverence, and melody. The Quran's oral transmission has preserved its pronunciation and sound with precision. Reciting it is an act of worship, and listening to it can be a deeply moving spiritual experience. Many people, even non-Muslims, are struck by the beauty of Quranic recitation, how it flows, echoes, and touches the soul. This musical yet sacred aspect sets the Quran apart from all other texts. Fact 53. The Quran warns about the dangers of hypocrisy. The Quran dedicates several verses to describing munafiqun, the hypocrites. These are individuals who pretend to believe outwardly while hiding disbelief in their hearts. The Quran warns that hypocrisy is spiritually dangerous and more harmful than open rejection of faith. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:8-20 outlines their traits. They lie, sow discord, and mock sincere believers. The message is clear. God values sincerity above outward appearance. These warnings invite every reader to self-reflect, ensuring that their actions align with their faith and intentions. Fact 54. The Quran has a chapter named after the moon. Surah Al-Qamar, meaning the moon, is the 54th chapter of the Quran. It opens with a dramatic statement. The hour has come near and the moon has split. This refers to a miraculous event during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, witnessed by several people. But beyond this sign, the chapter speaks of the day of judgment and the fate of those who deny the truth. The moon is used not just as a celestial body, but as a symbol of signs, cycles, and divine timing, encouraging reflection on the greater reality beyond our daily lives. Fact 55. The Quran uses beautiful names for God. Throughout the Quran, God is referred to by 99 beautiful names, each reflecting a different aspect of his perfection. Names like Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, Al-Hakim, the all-wise, Al-Ghafar, the forgiving, and Al-Wadud, the most loving, appear in various verses. These names are not abstract. They shape how Muslims understand and connect with their Creator. The Quran encourages believers to call upon God using these names, each one a doorway to deeper intimacy with the divine. They remind the heart that God is not distant, but near, and His mercy is limitless. Fact 56. The Quran commands justice even against oneself. In a striking demonstration of moral integrity, the Quran commands believers to stand firmly for justice, even if it is against themselves, their parents, or their closest relatives. O you who believe, stand firmly for justice as witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves. Surah 4, 135. This level of honesty and self-accountability is rare in human history. The Quran teaches that true justice isn't based on bias, power, or personal interest. It's rooted in truth, fairness, and the fear of God. Fact 57. The Quran contains words that only recently gained meaning. There are certain words and concepts in the Quran that were once obscure but have become meaningful in light of modern science. For instance, the term barzakh describes a barrier between two bodies of water that do not mix, Surah 55, verse 19 to 20, a phenomenon confirmed by oceanography. These discoveries point to the Quran's layered meanings, some of which were hidden for centuries and only understood as human knowledge expanded. This unfolding insight reinforces the idea that the Quran is timeless and eternally relevant. Fact 58. The Quran's verses are called signs. In Arabic, each verse of the Quran is called an ayah, which literally means a sign. This choice of word emphasizes that the Quran is not just a book of laws or stories. It is a collection of divine signs pointing to deeper truths. Just as signs guide travelers on a road, Quranic verses guide the soul toward understanding God, the universe, and the self. Each ayah is a reflection of God's presence, wisdom, and artistry, waiting to be pondered and recognized. Fact 59. The Quran was translated into many languages, but its original remains unchanged. While the Quran has been translated into virtually every major language on earth, the Arabic original remains the only official version. This ensures that the divine message remains pure, while translations serve as interpretations to help non-Arabic speakers understand. Unlike other ancient texts that lost their original form, the Quran's preservation in its native tongue provides unmatched continuity. Every Muslim prayer, no matter the country, is recited in this same language, creating a unified voice of worship across cultures. Fact 60. The Quran uses dialogue from the past. The Quran doesn't just narrate events, it brings history to life through dialogue. It quotes the words of Pharaoh, the prayers of prophets, the pleas of sinners, and even the whispers of Satan. These speeches and exchanges allow readers to feel the emotion and urgency of each story. Instead of distant tales, the Quran pulls you into the moment, letting you hear the conversations that shape the destinies of nations. This use of dialogue makes the Quran engaging, powerful, and alive with human experience. Fact 61. The Quran recognizes the rights of animals. The Quran acknowledges that animals are communities like humans. There is not an animal on the earth, nor a bird that flies on its wings, but they are communities like you. Surah 638. This recognition is profound. It teaches respect for animals as part of God's creation. The Quran forbids cruelty, overhunting, and wastefulness. It teaches that every creature glorifies God in its own way, even if humans don't understand their language. This eco-conscious ethic in the Quran promotes kindness, mercy, and humility toward all living beings. Fact 62. The Quran often ends verses with pairs of divine names. In many verses, the Quran ends with two of God's names, such as, "And Allah is forgiving, merciful," or indeed, "Allah is all-knowing, all-wise." These name pairings are not random. They reflect the nature of the verse itself, and the divine balance between justice and mercy, power and wisdom, forgiveness and knowledge. This poetic and theological symmetry reinforces the beauty and precision of the Quran, while helping the reader internalize God's many attributes with awe and reverence. Fact 63. The Quran predicts the preservation of Pharaoh's body. In Surah Yunus 10:92, the Quran makes an incredible statement about Pharaoh. This day we shall save your body, so that you may be a sign for those after you. For centuries, no one knew what became of Pharaoh's remains. But today, a mummified body believed to be that of the Pharaoh from Moses' time is preserved in a museum in Egypt. The fact that the Quran specifically mentions the preservation of Pharaoh's corpse for future generations is seen by many as a miraculous prophecy fulfilled before our very eyes. Fact 64. The Quran offers detailed descriptions of paradise and hell. The Quran gives vivid imagery of both paradise, Jannah, and hell, Jahannam, not to scare or bribe, but to awaken the human soul. Paradise is described with flowing rivers, lush gardens, pure companionship, peace, and the ultimate reward, seeing God. Hell, on the other hand, is a place of regret, fire, darkness, and sorrow. These descriptions are not just symbolic, they reflect the consequences of moral choices. The Quran uses them to inspire reflection, urging believers to seek goodness and mercy before the final judgment arrives. Fact 65. The Quran is meant to be lived, not just read. The Quran is not a book meant to sit on a shelf. It is a living guide meant to be reflected upon, acted upon, and embodied in daily life. It calls believers to pray, give charity, forgive, seek knowledge, be truthful, and uphold justice. Every command is tied to action, and every story comes with a moral. The Quran transforms from a recited book into a living force when its message is applied in the real world. That is when its light truly shines, through the lives of those who live by it. Fact 66. The Quran speaks to people of all ages and times. One of the most astonishing features of the Quran is its timelessness. Though revealed in the 7th century, its message speaks to modern hearts just as powerfully as it did to the first listeners. Whether you're a child learning right from wrong, a parent seeking wisdom, or an elder contemplating the next life, the Quran meets you where you are. It addresses people of every era, culture, and background, offering guidance that never grows old. This universal relevance is one of the signs of its divine origin. Fact 67. The Quran mentions the importance of moderation. The Quran doesn't call for extremes. It encourages a path of balance and moderation in every aspect of life. And thus, we have made you a justly balanced nation. Surah 2:143. Islam promotes balance between spiritual and worldly duties, between justice and mercy, between hope and fear. The Quran warns against excess, whether in wealth, worship, or behavior, and praises those who live with restraint, dignity, and fairness. This balanced approach builds strong individuals and harmonious communities. Fact 68. The Quran encourages reflection on death and the afterlife. The Quran regularly reminds readers of the reality of death, not to create fear, but to inspire perspective. It teaches that life is a temporary test and the real home is in the hereafter. Phrases like, "Every soul shall taste death," Surah 3:185, urge believers to prepare for the inevitable by living righteously. These reminders shift focus from temporary pleasures to eternal values, encouraging a life of purpose, mindfulness, and accountability before God. Fact 69. The Quran addresses the inner struggles of the soul. While the Quran speaks about the world, it also dives deep into the hidden battles within the self. It speaks of doubt, pride, envy, fear, and anxiety, and offers ways to overcome them through faith, prayer, patience, and remembrance of God. This inner awareness is what Muslims call jihad an-nafs, the struggle against the ego. The Quran doesn't shy away from these struggles. Instead, it gently guides the reader toward purification and self-growth, knowing that victory over the self is the greatest triumph. Fact 70. The Quran recognizes the power of words. Words have the power to heal or to wound, to uplift or destroy, and the Quran recognizes this truth. It encourages believers to speak kindly, to avoid harshness, and to use language that brings peace. And speak to people good words, Surah 283. At the same time, it warns against lying, backbiting, and false witness. The Quran treats words as sacred trust, knowing that what we say shapes relationships, communities, and our own souls. A single word can open hearts or close them. Fact 71. The Quran speaks to both men and women equally. The Quran addresses both men and women directly, often using dual language like the believing men and the believing women, Surah 33:35. It affirms that both genders are spiritually equal, judged not by biology, but by faith and good deeds. Women are not an afterthought in the Quran. They are honored, mentioned, and included in divine conversations. This spiritual equality was revolutionary at the time of revelation and continues to offer empowerment and dignity to women worldwide. Fact 72. The Quran was the first text for many who could not read. In early Islamic history, many people encountered the Quran before they ever learned how to read. The beauty of its oral recitation captivated their hearts and inspired them to learn. In fact, the desire to access the Quran led to literacy movements throughout the Muslim world. Schools, libraries, and universities flourished, all because of a book that first spoke to people through sound. The Quran not only educated minds, it awakened entire civilizations. Fact 73. The Quran critiques materialism and greed. The Quran is clear in its warning. Wealth is a test, not a guarantee of success. It criticizes those who hoard wealth, exploit others, and become arrogant because of their riches. Woe to every slanderer and backbiter who collects wealth and counts it. Surah 104, 1-2. But it also praises those who give generously, share with the needy, and use their blessings for good. The Quran calls the heart to detach from greed and attach to something greater: contentment, compassion, and trust in God. Fact 74. The Quran affirms that God knows what's in the hearts. Unlike humans, who judge by appearance, the Quran teaches that God looks directly into the heart. Indeed, He is knowing of that within the breasts. Surah 57, verse 6. Whether it's love, sorrow, sincerity, or hidden intentions, nothing is concealed from Him. This knowledge brings comfort and caution. Comfort for those who are misunderstood, and caution for those who hide behind false righteousness. The Quran gently reminds us that true faith begins within, and the heart is where the real journey unfolds. Fact 75. The Quran encourages believers to never lose hope. Among the most beloved verses in the Quran is this: Say, O my servants who have wronged their souls, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. Surah 39, verse 53. This message is a lifeline to anyone burdened by guilt or shame. The Quran does not expect perfection. It offers redemption again and again. It teaches that no matter how far one has strayed, the door of mercy is always open. This hope transforms lives, revives hearts, and brings people back to light. Fact 76. The Quran reveals that patience is strength. Throughout its chapters, the Quran emphasizes that patience, sabr, is not weakness. It is a form of powerful endurance. Whether facing loss, injustice, or temptation, the Quran repeatedly tells believers to be steadfast. Indeed, Allah is with the patient. Surah 2:153. This divine companionship transforms suffering into a means of growth. Patience in the Quran is not passive. It is active trust in God, the resilience to keep moving forward, and the strength to remain righteous in the face of hardship. Fact 77. The Quran encourages beautiful responses to harm. The Quran doesn't just teach forgiveness, it invites believers to respond to hatred with beauty. Repel evil with that which is better, and thereupon the one whom between you and him is enmity will become as though he was a devoted friend. Surah 41:34. This noble conduct turns enemies into allies and transforms social hostility into peace. Rather than revenge, the Quran promotes rising above harm with wisdom, grace, and a heart rooted in compassion. Fact 78. The Quran connects worship with social justice. In Islam, worship isn't just about prayer, it's about how you treat others. The Quran ties belief in God to care for the poor, orphans, and the oppressed. Have you seen the one who denies the religion? That is the one who repulses the orphan and does not encourage feeding the poor. Surah 107, verse 1-3. True faith is measured not only in rituals but in action. The Quran calls for a life of service, where spiritual growth must lead to social responsibility. Fact 79. The Quran contains stories of failure for reflection. Not all stories in the Quran end in triumph. Some, like the tale of Qarun's arrogance or Pharaoh's destruction, serve as warnings. These stories highlight the tragic consequences of pride, denial, and rebellion against truth. The Quran does not romanticize failure. It presents it with honesty, so that others may learn. These cautionary tales remind us that choices have consequences, and that even the mightiest can fall when they stray from righteousness. Fact 80. The Quran respects human free will. While it affirms God's knowledge and power, the Quran also upholds human free will. It repeatedly says, "Let there be no compulsion in religion," and emphasizes that guidance must be chosen. People are given signs, messengers, and reminders, but in the end, it is their decision. This balance between divine guidance and personal responsibility is at the heart of the Quran's worldview. We are not puppets, but partners in our own moral journey. Fact 81. The Quran was often revealed in response to real events. Unlike books written in isolation, the Quran was revealed in real time, responding to questions, conflicts, and events as they happened. A question would arise, and a verse would be revealed. A battle would occur, and divine commentary would follow. This dynamic nature makes the Quran feel alive, engaged with human experience. It guided people not from a distance, but step by step, meeting them in their lives and lifting them toward the divine. Fact 82. The Quran warns against following desires blindly. The Quran acknowledges human desires, but it warns against letting them control us. Have you seen he who has taken his own desire as his God? Surah 45:23. This verse reveals a powerful truth. When we serve our desires instead of our Creator, we lose our moral compass. The Quran doesn't shame desire, it offers discipline, helping us align our wants with what is good, just, and spiritually healthy. It teaches mastery over self rather than slavery to impulse. Fact 83. The Quran frequently reminds us of God's nearness. Far from portraying God as distant or unreachable, the Quran emphasizes his closeness. And we have already created man, and we know what his soul whispers to him, and we are closer to him than his jugular vein, Surah 50:16. This nearness is not physical, it's spiritual. God knows our fears, hopes, and secrets. He listens to our prayers, even the silent ones. For believers, this intimacy is a source of constant comfort, strength, and trust. Fact 84. The Quran contains miraculous numerical patterns. Scholars have found astonishing patterns in the Quran structure. For example, the word day, yom, appears 365 times, equal to the number of days in a year. Month, shahr, appears 12 times. The balance of opposites, like life and death, man and woman, good and evil, often matches in frequency. These subtle numerical consistencies point to a hidden layer of order and intentionality, far beyond what a human author could maintain in such a vast text. Fact 85. The Quran encourages asking questions. Contrary to the stereotype that religion discourages inquiry, the Quran repeatedly encourages questions. It says, "So ask the people of knowledge if you do not know," Surah 16:43. It uses rhetorical questions to provoke thought. Do they not look at the camels, how they are created? Surah 88:17. The Quran challenges assumptions and invites seekers to explore. True faith, according to the Quran, is not based on blind belief, but on deep reflection, sincere questioning, and open-hearted discovery. Fact 86. The Quran promotes peace as the default state. The word Islam itself comes from the root salam, which means peace. The Quran calls peace not just a goal, but a natural condition for the believer. And if they incline toward peace, then incline toward it also. Surah 8:61. It permits defense only in times of injustice, but even then urges restraint, forgiveness, and peace as the higher path. In a world of constant conflict, the Quran offers a spiritual roadmap to calm the storms within ourselves and between others. Fact 87. The Quran addresses people at every level of understanding. The Quran is layered, like an ocean with depths for divers and shores for walkers. A child can find comfort in its stories, a scholar can spend decades studying a single verse, and both will benefit. The Quran speaks plainly to the seeker and subtly to the knower. Its words adapt to your level of heart, knowledge, and sincerity. It is not just one book, it becomes different books to different people, all carrying one eternal truth. Fact 88. The Quran teaches that true honor comes from God. In societies that measure success by wealth, fame, or status, the Quran shifts the focus. Indeed, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Surah 49, verse 13. This simple yet profound verse redefines human value, not by race, class, or power, but by humility, character, and closeness to God. It liberates people from worldly pressure and teaches that divine honor is the only honor that truly matters. Fact 89. The Quran encourages silence and listening during its recitation. When the Quran is being recited, the Quran commands, "So listen to it and remain silent that you may receive mercy." Surah 7:204. This guidance creates a sacred atmosphere around its verses, where the heart is attentive and the mind is open. In a noisy world full of constant distractions, the act of silent listening becomes a form of reverence. It is not just about hearing sounds. It is about receiving the divine with presence and humility. Fact 90. The Quran was preserved through both memory and manuscripts. The Quran's preservation is unmatched in human history. It was not only written down meticulously by scribes during the Prophet's life, but also memorized word for word by his companions. This dual method, written and oral, has continued for over 1,400 years. Today, millions around the world have memorized the entire Quran, maintaining an unbroken chain of transmission. This miraculous preservation ensures that every word we read today is exactly what was revealed centuries ago. Fact 91. The Quran offers healing through sound. The Quran's recitation is more than just words. It's a healing experience. Many people report feelings of peace, emotional release, and spiritual elevation just from listening. The rhythm, pauses, and tone of Quranic recitation are designed to touch the heart and soothe the soul. And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers. Surah 1782. Even if you don't understand Arabic, the sound alone carries light, reminding us that the Quran speaks to the soul as much as the mind. Fact 92. The Quran describes the book as heavy. In Surah Al-Muzammil 73 verse 5, the Quran describes itself as a heavy word. This weight isn't physical, it's spiritual and moral. The Quran isn't light entertainment or casual reading, it carries responsibility. Those who receive its guidance are entrusted with embodying it. This heaviness also reflects its power to transform hearts and change the course of nations. To carry the Quran is to carry light, but also the duty to live by it with sincerity and integrity. Fact 93. The Quran invites humanity to a personal relationship with God. Unlike texts that create distance between man and the divine, the Quran invites closeness. God speaks directly, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." Surah 40:60. The Quran reassures that God is near, listening, and compassionate. There is no need for an intermediary, no secret language required. A whisper of sincerity reaches the divine throne. The Quran encourages each soul to build its own bond with its creator, a bond of love, dependence, and unbreakable trust. Fact 94. The Quran foretold that it would be protected from corruption. One of the boldest statements in the Quran is that it would never be changed. Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed, we will be its guardian. Surah 15:9. Unlike previous scriptures that were altered over time, the Quran was divinely promised protection. Today, more than 1400 years later, that promise stands. No book has been preserved in such pristine form across continents, languages, and centuries. This self-proclaimed prophecy continues to be fulfilled in real time. Fact 95. The Quran is structured with perfect literary balance. The Quran exhibits a remarkable literary symmetry known as ring composition. Entire chapters are structured so that the beginning and end mirror each other, while the central verse holds the main theme. This literary precision, without editing, redrafting, or posthumous revision, is unparalleled. In Surah Al-Baqarah, for instance, the central verse is Ayat al-Kursi, often called the greatest verse in the Quran. These literary structures are not only beautiful, they're proof of intentionality and divine authorship, astounding linguists and scholars to this day. Fact 96. The Quran begins with praise and ends with protection. The Quran opens with Surah Al-Fatiha, a chapter filled with praise, gratitude, and a plea for guidance. It closes with Surah An-Nas, a supplication seeking refuge from evil whispers. This structure is deeply symbolic, beginning with light and ending with safety. From start to finish, the Quran wraps the reader in divine care, reminding us that life begins with acknowledging the Creator and ends with seeking His protection from harm, both seen and unseen. Fact 97. The Quran contains a verse considered its greatest. Ayat al-Kursi, Surah 2:255, also known as the throne verse, is widely regarded as the greatest verse in the Quran. It speaks of God's eternal power, knowledge, and sovereignty. This verse is often recited for protection, peace, and connection to God's majesty. Its rhythmic beauty, profound theology, and spiritual comfort make it one of the most beloved and memorized verses. It reminds the believer that nothing escapes God's knowledge and that He alone sustains all that exists. Fact 98. The Quran was revealed to the heart of the Prophet. Unlike information stored in scrolls or tablets, the Quran was revealed directly to the heart of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The trustworthy Spirit has brought it down upon your heart, O Muhammad. Surah 26, 193 to 194. This heart-to-heart transmission is significant. It wasn't just a message, but a living experience. The Prophet not only received the Quran intellectually, but emotionally and spiritually, embodying its message through his life, character, and example. Fact 99. The Quran will intercede on the Day of Judgment. According to authentic narrations, the Quran will intercede for those who read and live by it. It will testify on their behalf, saying, "O Lord, I prevented him from sleeping at night, so accept my intercession for him." This gift of intercession is not for passive readers, but for those who connected with the Quran sincerely, reciting, reflecting, and acting upon its teachings. On the day when nothing else will speak for you, the Quran will. Fact 100. The Quran is a living miracle available to all. Unlike miracles confined to time and place, like splitting the sea or reviving the dead, the Quran is a miracle that lives on. It's not in a museum or a distant past. It's recited daily in homes, hearts, and mosques around the world. It continues to transform lives, heal hearts, challenge minds, and inspire generations. You don't need to witness it, you can experience it. The Quran is not just a book. It is a miracle you can hold in your hands and carry in your soul. The Quran is far more than a holy book. It is a living, breathing miracle that has withstood time, transformed nations, and touched the hearts of billions. Its verses contain oceans of wisdom, mercy, justice, and light. It speaks to the scholar and the shepherd, the seeker and the sinner. Whether you read it for knowledge, healing, or guidance, the Quran opens itself to those who approach it with sincerity. These 100 facts only scratch the surface of its majesty. Hidden within its pages are treasures waiting to be discovered, not just by the mind, but by the heart. So open it, reflect, listen, and let it speak to you, not just in words, but in meaning, in mercy, and in truth. Because the Quran is not just a book to be read, it is a light to be lived.